TV soap news and spoilers say that the air in Fairmont Crest was thick with the weight of unspoken truths, a small town nestled in the shadow of secrets, where every whispered conversation carried the potential to unravel lives. The cobblestone streets, lined with quaint shops and historic homes, seemed to hum with an undercurrent of tension, as if the town itself knew that a storm was brewing. At the heart of this brewing tempest was Anita Lawson, a woman whose poised exterior masked a lifetime of triumphs and betrayals. Her name was synonymous with success, her face a fixture in the local papers for her philanthropy and leadership within the Articulates, a prestigious women's society that wielded influence far beyond the town's borders. But beneath her polished veneer, Anita carried a burden so heavy it threatened to shatter her carefully constructed world. That burden was a letter, a single, devastating piece of paper penned by her estranged sister, Barbara, a woman whose name had long been erased from Anita's public narrative. The story begins not in Fairmont Crest, but in the bustling, chaotic streets of Genoa City, where Devon Hamilton Winters, a man of quiet strength and unyielding resolve, was grappling with a truth that would change the course of his life. Devon, known to fans of the young and the restless as a man of integrity and ambition, had built a life in Genoa City that many envied. As the heir to the Hamilton Winters legacy, he had navigated corporate battles, romantic entanglements, and family dramas with a grace that belied the storms raging within him. Yet, beneath his composed exterior, Devon carried a secret that gnawed at his soul. A secret tied to his origins, to a mother he had never known, and to a past that had been deliberately hidden from him. It was a crisp autumn morning when Devon made the decision to leave Genoa City behind. The city, with its towering skyscrapers and relentless pace, had been his home for years, but it could no longer contain the questions that burned in his heart. A tattered photograph, discovered in a forgotten box in his late adoptive mother's attic, had set him on this path. The image showed a young woman with striking features, eyes that mirrored his own, a smile that carried both warmth and sorrow. On the back, in faded ink, was a single name, Barbara. That name, coupled with whispers he had overheard as a child, led him to Fairmont Crest, a town he had never visited but felt inexplicably drawn to. Fairmont Crest was a world apart from Genoa City. Where Genoa City pulsed with ambition and intrigue, Fairmont Crest was a place where time seemed to move slower, where secrets were buried beneath layers of tradition and decorum. The town's centerpiece was the grand Fairmont Crest Manor, home to the Articulates, a society of women whose influence stretched into the highest echelons of power. Anita Lawson was their undisputed queen, a woman whose elegance and authority commanded respect. But for all her outward success, Anita's life was haunted by the ghost of her past, a sister she had once loved dearly, a sister she had abandoned in a moment of weakness. Years ago, Anita and Barbara had been inseparable. Raised in a modest home on the outskirts of Fairmont Crest, the sisters had dreamed of a brighter future, one where their talents and determination would lift them out of poverty. They shared everything, secrets, laughter, and a fierce loyalty that nothing could break. Or so they thought. As young women, they had founded the Articulates together, a society meant to empower women and give voice to the voiceless. But ambition is a double-edged sword, and as Anita's star rose, Barbara's began to fade. Jealousy, misunderstandings, and a series of betrayals drove a wedge between them. When Barbara's life spiraled into chaos, marked by a failed marriage, financial ruin, and emotional turmoil, Anita turned her back, choosing her own success over her sister's salvation. It was a decision that would haunt her for decades. The letter arrived on a rainy afternoon, its arrival unremarkable save for the familiar handwriting that made Anita's heart lurch. She had not seen Barbara in years, had not spoken her name aloud in even longer. The envelope was worn, as if it had traveled a great distance, and its contents were a dagger to Anita's soul. Barbara's words were both a lament and an accusation, a tapestry of pain woven with memories of their shared past. Dear Anita, the letter began, I have watched from afar as you've built a life of splendor, a life we once dreamed of together. Do you ever think of me, of the promises we made under the old oak tree? Do you remember the nights we spent planning our future, vowing to never let the world tear us apart? The letter went on to recount the betrayal that had shattered Barbara's spirit. "You left me, Anita," she wrote, "left me to drown in my failures while you soared. I was your sister, your confidant, your equal, and you cast me aside like a shadow you no longer wished to see." The words grew heavier, more desperate, as Barbara described her descent into isolation, her days spent in a small apartment filled with the ghosts of what might have been. The letter ended with a chilling farewell. "I cannot bear this loneliness any longer. By the time you read this, I will be gone. I hope you find peace, Anita, but I wonder if you'll ever find forgiveness." Anita had read the letter alone in her study, the rain pounding against the windows like an accusation. She had wept then, wept for the sister she had lost, for the choices she could not undo. She kept the letter hidden, locked in a drawer, its existence a secret she carried like a stone in her chest. For years, she told herself that Barbara's death was not her fault, that her sister's choices were her own. But guilt is a relentless companion, and it whispered to Anita in the quiet moments, reminding her of the blood on her hands. Enter Devon Hamilton Winters, a man whose arrival in Fairmont Crest would set into motion a chain of events that no one could have foreseen. Devon's journey to the town was not a whim but a pilgrimage, driven by the need to uncover the truth about his origins. The photograph of Barbara had been the first clue, but it was followed by others, letters, records, and a cryptic note from his adoptive mother that hinted at a connection to Fairmont Crest. Devon's investigation had led him to Anita Lawson, the woman whose name appeared in documents tied to Barbara's past. He didn't know what he would find in Fairmont Crest, but he knew that Anita held the key to the answers he sought. Devon's arrival in Fairmont Crest was met with curiosity and suspicion. The townsfolk, accustomed to their insular ways, were wary of outsiders, especially one as enigmatic as Devon. He checked into the Fairmont Crest Inn, a charming but slightly faded establishment run by a nosy innkeeper named Mrs. Hargrove, who seemed to know everyone's business. "You're not from around here," she remarked as she handed him the key to his room, her eyes narrowing with curiosity. Devon offered a polite smile but no explanation. He wasn't here to make friends. He was here to uncover the truth. His first encounter with Anita came at a gala hosted by the Articulates, an event that drew the town's elite to the Fairmont Crest Manor. The manor was a vision of opulence, its chandeliers casting a warm glow over the gathered crowd. Anita moved through the room like a queen, her smile radiant but her eyes guarded. Devon, dressed in a tailored suit that spoke of his success in Genoa City, felt out of place among the town's aristocracy, but he was undeterred. He approached Anita during a rare moment when she was alone, her champagne glass held delicately in her hand. "Miss Lawson," he began, his voice steady but laced with an intensity that made her pause. "My name is Devon Hamilton Winters. I believe you knew my mother." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Anita's smile faltered, her hand tightening around the stem of her glass. "Your mother," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm afraid I don't know who you mean." Devon's eyes locked onto hers, searching for a flicker of recognition, a crack in her composure. "Her name was Barbara," he said, his voice low but unwavering. "Barbara Winters. I believe she was your sister." The room seemed to fade away, the chatter and music fading into a distant hum. Anita's face drained of color, her breath catching in her throat. For a moment, she was no longer the poised leader of the Articulates but a woman confronted by the ghosts of her past. "Barbara," she whispered, the name a wound she had tried to bury. How do you know her?" Devon's story poured out then, a tale of discovery and loss. He spoke of the photograph, the letters, the fragments of a life that had been hidden from him. He told her of his adoptive mother, of the questions that had haunted him since childhood, of the pull he felt toward Fairmont Crest. And then, the revelation that shook Anita to her core: "I believe I'm her son." The words were a dagger, piercing through years of denial and guilt. Anita's mind raced, memories flooding back, Barbara's laughter, her tears, the letter that had ended it all. Could it be true? Had Barbara had a child, a son she never spoke of? The possibility was too much to bear, and yet the evidence stood before her in the form of Devon, his eyes so like Barbara's, his presence a living echo of the sister she had lost. The gala continued around them, oblivious to the seismic shift occurring in their corner of the room. Anita excused herself, her composure fraying as she fled to her private study. There, among the leather-bound books and framed accolades, she retrieved the letter from its hiding place. She read it again, her hands trembling, searching for any hint that Barbara had left behind a child. But the letter offered no answers, only pain. Devon, meanwhile, was not content to wait for Anita to come to terms with his revelation. He began to dig deeper, seeking out those in Fairmont Crest who had known Barbara. He spoke to old neighbors, former articulates, anyone who might remember the sister who had been erased from the town's history. Each conversation added a piece to the puzzle, painting a picture of a woman who had been vibrant, brilliant, and ultimately broken. He learned of Barbara's final days, of the apartment where she had lived alone, of the whispers that she had taken her own life. But he also heard rumors of a pregnancy, of a child given up, of a secret so well kept that even Anita might not have known. As the days turned into weeks, Devon and Anita's paths continued to cross, each encounter more charged than the last. Anita, torn between denial and desperation, began to investigate Devon's claims, reaching out to old contacts and combing through records. She found fragments of truth, hospital records, adoption papers, a name that matched the one Devon had given her. But with each discovery came a new wave of guilt, a reminder of the sister she had failed. The climax came on a stormy night, the kind that seemed to mirror the turmoil in their hearts. Anita invited Devon to the manor, determined to confront the truth once and for all. The study was dimly lit, the letter lying open on the desk between them. "If you're her son," Anita said, her voice breaking, "why didn't she tell me? Why did she keep you a secret?" Devon's answer was simple but devastating. "She didn't want you to know," he said. "She thought you'd abandoned her, that you didn't care. She wanted to protect me from that pain." The words were a final blow, shattering the last of Anita's defenses. She wept then, not just for Barbara, but for the years lost, for the family she might have had, for the son who stood before her now, a living reminder of her failures. Devon, too, felt the weight of the moment, his own pain mingling with hers. But in that shared grief, there was also the possibility of healing, of rebuilding what had been broken. The story of Devon and Anita is far from over. In Fairmont Crest, where secrets are currency and redemption is hard-won, their journey is just beginning. Will Anita find a way to atone for her past? Will Devon uncover the full truth of his mother's life? And what of the articulates, whose influence looms over the town like a shadow? Only time will tell if this tale unfolds beyond the gates, or if it remains a private reckoning between two souls bound by a shared tragedy. We hope you enjoyed it and look forward to sharing more with you in the future. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe TV soap news and spoilers for more updates on Beyond the Gates.